The Three Christs of Ypsilanti. My name is Bill. Welcome to the Night Terrors Weekend Show. And we're starting right now. My Banned by YouTube series drops an episode every Wednesday morning. YouTube said to me, take down 3 years of your videos. These videos are no longer on the channel. The only way you can see them is to catch them on Wednesday. If you value what I do on the Night Terror streams and in the Night Terrors live, no, that is the live, and in the Night Terrors videos, one way to support the channel is through Patreon. Become a patron of the show by clicking on the Patreon link in the description below. Thank you for supporting the show. Welcome to Elder Gonan Takahama Plateau. Welcome to Gotchaman and Green Tea. Green Tea says, hello, friends. Andrew and Gnome's Trucking Express says, hey, hey. And Elder Grown says, welcome one and all. Let's get started. Big Al 1 says, good evening. Welcome, Big Al. T. Olsen 2 having a problem with Twitch, but she's able to access YouTube. David Brush Jr. says good evening. And K. Blinn 502 Kentucky is here. Is that an area code? K. Blinn says, hey, I got one live. I'm doing well, K. Blinn. How about yourself? Here at grunge.com. is a story. Oh, Big Daddy is here. Says, hi, Bill, hi, all. Welcome, Big Daddy. Entitled The True Story Behind the Experiment of Three Christs of Ypsilanti. Oh, thank you, Green Tea, for the topic. Going to copy that now. We need topics, people. Green Tea is number 1 at this time. Thank you, Green Tea. And it's written by Richard Milner. Mr. Milner begins. So imagine you're a doctor, a psychologist, in fact. One of your patients comes up to you one day and says, hey, doc, guess what? I'm Jesus Christ. That is correct, T. Plateau. Milton Rokeach. Dr. Milton Rokeach. Sometime later, another patient comes up to you and makes the exact same claim. And after that, a third. None of the patients have ever met. You just roll with it and ask some questions, get some therapeutic practice with one and move on to the next? Or do you try to break their delusion? Well, thank you, T. Plateau, for the jewels. Much appreciated, ma'am. T. Plateau hailing from down under in Australia. Green Tea asks, they all thought they were Jesus. That is correct. Far from being a mere thought experiment or an extra credit question on a sophomore psych student's midterm exam, this actually happened. As the New York Times recounts, in an original 1964 story, the story began in 59, I believe, Dr. Milton Rokeach treated 3 patients in the late 50s, each of whom claimed to be Jesus. Welcome to WJ. WJ says, I am Clippy and I believe in privacy, data, and property rights against corporate and government abuse. Amen, WJ. Right to own and repair. I just want to help. Oh yeah, right to repair is big. Right to own is probably bigger, but right to repair is big too. I used to make a living in that business. Computer repair. Gotchaman asks, are we going live soon? I hope we're live right now, people. Are we not live now? Please report. It looks like we're okay on Twitch. Thank you, Elder Grown. Rokeach, a professor of psychology at Michigan State, wrote about his experiences in the book, The Three Christs of Ypsilanti. Each patient had schizophrenia, one of the most severe psychotic disorders that at worst causes a complete dissociation from reality, as described by the National Institute of Mental Health. Rokeach, in an era of widespread electroshock therapy, he didn't use that, thank goodness, decided on a rather unorthodox treatment. He decided to do what some in hindsight have criticized as cruel and unethical, and it was. He put three Christs together in one room and made them talk to each other. His hope was that when confronted with the illogic of multiple Jesuses, and that's what the author writes, a little wordy this author for me, the men's delusions would fracture. By the time Milton Rokeach came across his three Christs in the late 50s, he was already a respected psychologist. He had emigrated from Poland to the U.S. with his family at the age of 7. He'd gotten his B.A. from Brooklyn College in 41 and his Ph.D. in psychology from the University of Berkeley, California in 47. Thank you, Gotcha Man, for the suggestion. We are still needing suggestions, people. We have 2. We need, 5 would be nice. Thank you, G-Man. Eldergone says, I'm picturing the meme with 3 Spider-Men pointing at each other. Only it's 3 Jesuses. From there, he went on to teach at Michigan State, the University of Western Ontario, and 2 more universities. In other words, Rokeach had the clout necessary to make an unorthodox study like the Three Christs happen. Welcome to Gladys. Gladys says, play the long game. Sounds like good advice. Rokeach didn't come, the author started out spelling the name right, but now the author is spelling it Coreach. No, it's not Coreach. Twice in a row, Coreach here. Rokeach did not come to his put all the Jesus men together idea by himself. As unlikely as it sounds, he learned about a different treatment of 2 women believing themselves to be Mary, the mother of Jesus. Welcome to Shane Riley. That study decided to tackle the women's delusions by posing a rational question that also, in the posing, seemed to temporarily buy into their claims. Only one of them could be the real Mary, right? Normally, this is not how psychopathology and disorders like schizophrenia work. Delusions persist despite evidence to the contrary, as the World Health Organization says. Big Daddy says, my cousin is Jesus. At least that's his name. And yet, that strategy seemingly broke one woman's delusions. This was enough for Rokeach to figure he could apply the same method to his own patients, who were fixated on self-identifying with a different biblical figure. A suggestion from T. Plateau. Thank you, T. Plateau. Sounds like a real good one, T. Plateau. Thank you very much, ma'am. Got it. We need 2 more suggestions, people. This credited as Renata Sedmakova, courtesy of Shutterstock. Just in case you think someone claiming to be Jesus is a rare event, I didn't think that. Milton Rokeach also had historical precedent to back up his strategy. As Slate recounts, 18th century French writer and philosopher Voltaire once wrote about an unfortunate madman named Simon Morin, who was burned at the stake in 1663 because he said he was Jesus. Morin had even come across another patient claiming to be God the Father rather than the Son of God, when committed to a madhouse. At the time, Morin was so struck with the folly of his companion that he acknowledged his own and appeared for a time to have recovered his senses. Voltaire wrote in 1767 in his essay on crimes and punishment. Green tea with the crucifix. Thank you, green tea. I got a copy of that one. That I do not yet have. Oh, it's a crucifix of pepperoni. It's called Pepperonis. There's a nasty word in there somewhere, but I'm trying to copy it now. There, I got it. Control C. Saving that one for later. There are other examples as well. In his 1991 book, My Voice Will Go With You, psychiatrist Sidney Rosen. Got you, man, with a link. Excellent, sir. Thank you. Le Jeu de Troyes Jesus in French. Why did it appear in ChatGPT? Oh, because it's a different ChatGPT. Because ChatGPT created it. Nice move, G-Man. Gladys says, isn't that what Jesus would do? TO2 says, Dad had a colleague called Zeus. I doubt he thought he was Zeus, though. I hope not. Gotcha Man says, GI can be scary or funny. Psychiatrist Sidney Rosen described placing two Christ-claiming patients face to face. Quote, I'm saying the same things as that crazy fool is saying, one of the patients said, according to Slate. That must mean I'm crazy too, evidently said the other guy. And in the modern day, we've apparently got loads of would-be Christs running around outside of therapy. The collector cites no less than 8 such people, including Vissarion cult leader and Jesus of Siberia, who was eventually arrested by Russian authorities in 2010 for abuse of his followers, according to CBS News. With so many people experiencing mental illness and/or charlatans claiming to be Christ, we have to ask, what in God's name is going on? Wish I had proofread this before I made it my primary article. And in Milton Rokeach's case, still misspelling it here, Mr. whoever your name is. Well, let's give him credit at least, right? Mr. Richard Milner. For grunge, you'd think there'd be more editorial oversight. Where's the red part? I had a red part here somewhere. Oh, I think it's not going to do that for me, is it? Okay, let's just try to go. There it is, right there, I'm hoping. Right, there it is. In Milton Rokeach's case, he gathered his 3 Christs together at Ypsilanti State Hospital outside of Saline, Michigan. He arranged to have various live-in assistants work with them around the clock, and also devised ways of getting the men to interact with each other. These 3 men, Joseph Cassell, Clyde Benson, and Leon Gabor, ranged in age from the late 30s to 70 years old. Aside from their general shared delusion about being Jesus, the particulars of their illnesses varied quite a bit, as did their personal histories. In the article published by All That's Interesting, Leon was the youngest of the three at 38 years old. He had apparently been committed to institutions from boyhood, after telling his mother to forsake false idols and worship him as the Lord. He introduced himself to Rokeach by saying, "It so happens that my birth certificate says I am Dr. Domino Dominorum, et Rex Rexarum Simplis Christianus Puris Mentalis Doctor," meaning Lord of Lords and King of Kings, simple Christian boy psychiatrist. Was that Joseph? No, that was Leon. Joseph was a 58-year-old former writer who was institutionalized at 20 years prior to Rokeach's treatment. He had continually claimed to be English, even though he'd never been to England. Clyde was the oldest of the three at 70 and experienced dementia. The first time Joseph and Clyde met, they got into a shouting match. One screaming, "Don't try to pull that on me because I will prove it to you. I'm telling you I'm God." Suffice it to say, some interesting stuff went down over the duration of Milton Rokeach's study. Rokeach started with hands-on, orchestrated interactions between the patients, by way of the placement of rooms, daily schedules, and so weiter. When that resulted in little less than ongoing arguments, Rokeach took to more extreme methods. The patient Leon, for instance, at one point, invented an imaginary wife, Madame Yeti Woman. So Rokeach started writing letters to Leon from this fictional wife, and used the letters to question Leon's identity. He was really messing with these guys. Joseph, the middle-aged patient, received fake letters from the head of Ypsilanti State Hospital. When the letters didn't work, Rokeach printed a fake article about himself giving a lecture about the three Christs delusions and read it to the men. It worked momentarily, but only. At a later point, Rokeach hired a female assistant to flirt with Leon. There's a movie made of this, by the way. The character, I think it's maybe 5 years old or so, maybe 10 years. And maybe more like 5 years. And the character that plays Leon is the same guy that played the little person in Game of Thrones. Really good actor. I can't remember his name, which sucks because he's one of my favorite actors. Leon actually fell for the girl, and when he realized he'd been set up, he retreated even further. In the end, no man was cured, and Leon changed his name to Sir Righteous Idealized Dung. Peter Dinklage, thank you, Big L1. Eldergone with the IMDb article. Thank you. You know I love IMDb. Dinklage is a good actor. Green Tea agrees. The Plateau knew as well. And there they are, the three Christs. Can we get that to look any bigger? Enlarge the poster. Where are the pictures? These are all the pictures here, right? Yeah, here we go. Let's get rid of that. Can we get rid of that? Yeah. We want a plus on that. Not going to do a plus. How about a minus? That's the biggest we're going to get it. I know that guy. Walton Goggins, that's that dude. Richard Gere, oh, I can hardly recognize him. He plays the doctor. And Bradley Whitford over here, I guess. Okay, yeah. He was in lots of good stuff, starting with The West Wing. Yeah. And Stanley Sosfanovich is here. Welcome, Stan. And the one about, all the women wear red there. I swear I'm getting dementia myself. You're welcome, Stan. Anyway, that's the movie. When Milton Rokeach originally published his 1964 book, The Three Christs of Ypsilanti, the Times glowingly called his treatment method an example of sympathy and considerable psychological sophistication. They never read the book then, evidently. The article explored Rokeach's work in an oddly abstract way, using a bit more direct and biting what? Oh no. Using overwrought language like, why do we misread the metaphors of madness? Since then, historical retrospectives have come across as a bit more direct and biting, with outlets like IFL Science calling Rokeach's work unethical, which it was, and Slate calling it manipulative, which it was. The Handmaid's Tale, yes, gotcha, man, thank you so much. And Eldergone does have, oh, well, we saw that link. Just going over myself again. In the revised edition of his book, Rokeach apologetically wrote, quote, I really had no right, even in the name of science, to play God and interfere around the clock with their daily lives. While I had failed to cure the three Christs of their delusions, they had succeeded in curing mine. My godlike delusion that I could change them by omnipotently and omnisciently arranging and rearranging their daily lives, and also messing with their heads, within the framework of a total institution, because they were totally institutionalized. In 2017, Richard Gere and Peter Dinklage starred in a movie adaptation of Rokeach's work. So that's going to be, what, 8 years ago? And here it says it was called Three Christs. Was it called Three Christs? It was called Three Christs. Okay. I think they should have kept the original title. It pulls better on YouTube. Even only judging by the trailer on IMDb, the film was framed as dark, yet an ultimately touching comedy. I also heard it described as a dark comedy. Ypsilanti State Hospital eventually got its funding cut in '91 and fell into complete disuse. As the urban exploration site World Abandoned says. Oh, we got to see that, right? The old Ypsilanti State Hospital. The facility became an abandoned and hollowed out wreck that stood until 2006 when it was finally torn down. 19 years ago. But I'm sure they have pictures, right? Yeah, and that's the end of that story. Yeah, so that was, my apologies to, and I can't remember his name. My apologies to Richard, but what are you thinking of, man? You spelled this guy's name wrong like 95% of the time. Elder says it's probably haunted now. Or not. Okay, let's check out that hospital. No, yeah, when it was new. Oh my God, talk about an institution. Is this large? Not really, it's Midland. Let's take a look. Open image in new tab. And they printed postcards on it about it. State Hospital, Ypsilanti, Michigan. What those little lines are? Oh, it's a postmark. Yeah, talk about an institution. The very definition of an institution. Jesus, it looks like a British prison. Welcome, Tina T. Tina Tomaszewski is here. Anything more decrepit? Here's something. Also Midland resolution. I want a close-up look of the decrepitation here. Oh, someone spray painted a cross. Broken windows. Where are the cinder blocks from? Maybe they found them inside and threw them out the windows or something? Postcards from the edge, says T Plateau. I want to see inside of it. What is that? Is that the same thing? What kind of view is that? Evidently it was different inside. What's it look like inside the... It looks like they may have had a courtyard or something, or something. Come on, give us some inside views. Ooh, that's really nasty. I'm not going to show that one. No bathroom humor. You'd think there'd be more than one picture of the inside with all these spelunkers exploring. I don't know what the official term is. Another one from the outside. The Michigan Daily claims it's opening its doors again. What does that picture look like? And this is very low resolution. Yeah, it is. But it shows that it was, at the time, abandoned. And how is that it almost opened its doors again, or did open its doors again? Let's check out that article. Opening its doors again, 2005? Really? Urban Explorers, thank you, Elder. Yes, Urban Explorers. Let's make that go down a little bit. That's here. No, down we want. No, down. No, down. How about, why do both keys do this? How about, is it? My shift key is not working. Oh, wait, the minus should be a minus. This is crazy. Is the word getting small? Words getting smaller? No, they're not. Shift. No, they're not. Can I do it with my keypad? Control minus. Thank goodness. Okay. After a West Bloomfield-based developer intent on building a subdivision outbid Toyota for some state-owned land, the site of an old mental hospital, the state threw out both bids. Ms. Tomaszewski says those urban explorers are crazy. The buildings are unstable, and they never know whom they may run across living there. How true. Gotcha Man found pictures. Sweet. Inside North America's abandoned mental health facilities, abandoned asylums, is by Canadian photographer Matt Vandervelde. Written by Lauren Rowe at archive.curbed.com. This one is not credited. None of these are captioned. Well, it's credited, but not captioned. Not very well captioned, just a credit. Oh, how sad. They had a piano. You think that could be refurbed somehow? The library. I guess the shelves were more valuable than the books. This guy's an artist. Now, this is art, people. I mean, look at the composition here. That's just amazing composition. That is a little bit, I don't agree with that composition right there. That could have been a little better. This is nice. You need 3 points, not just 2 points in a picture. That's supposed to have 3 because of the chairs there. It doesn't catch, it doesn't lock the eye. Tina says it's probably AI art. Yeah, I think this guy has a tendency to veer off of his usually gorgeous compositions by going for doublets. And no, doublets, no. This, yes. You got 3 points, if not the 2 windows on the books, the 2 windows on the suspended lighting in the books. But the doublets, boring. This is very, very nice. You got the 3 elements here with the doors, the piano, and the yellow shades. Only one of them torn to tatters, interestingly enough. I need another suggestion, people. We need suggestions. We're coming up to the first, which will be green tea. That's a little static, but you do have 3 points to consider here. This very nicely composed. Very nice. Just gorgeous, this one. That's true art right there. That a little, dare I say, hackneyed. That as well. Yeah, but this one right here, and these 2 here, truly artistic. And very sad. So sad. Next up at 33 minutes past the hour is green tea's suggestion. And that is, did Todd Standing get a video of Bigfoot? That I want to know. Thank you, ma'am. Todd Standing discovering Bigfoot. Cool. That might be where we're going. Telesphorus abraxas has arrived. Theobraxis says, the title grabbed me. Yeah, excellent title. It, as I said a little bit earlier, it pulls really well on YouTube. We just finished it if you want to rewind there. If you want to, but you can always do it later. Mystery Flavor has a suggestion. Thank you, Mystery Flavor. Oh, I like that, MF. I like your initials as well. Thank you, Mystery Flavor. Excellent suggestion. Telesphorus abraxas agrees. here at discoveringbigfoot.org, evidently a not-for-profit Bigfoot organization. Oh, it's a Todd Standing website. Copyright 2024, Todd Standing. About the team. One Sean Bond is here. Welcome, One Sean Bond and family. Good to see you as well. T Plateau says, not as sad as the poor people who had to spend their lives there. Yeah, right. Oh, that just scares the heck out of me. Being institutionalized. That would, yeah, no thanks. About the teams, Todd Standing. Where is the expeditions discovering Bigfoot? Expeditions contact forum. I don't know if we're going to get a description about it here. I don't know if we're going to get a good description about it here. It seems like, I mean, there's something in this paragraph here about it. Todd Standing has been conducting expeditions for over 15 years pertaining to the subject of Sasquatch. In 2006, he publicly showed 2 separate crystal clear Bigfoot videos he himself filmed, which he used to petition the Canadian government for species protection of Bigfoot. The petition was certified and tabled in the Canadian House of Commons. The media response was enormous, and hundreds of newspapers, TV networks, radio stations, and websites presented his work across the globe. Since then, he has filmed Bigfoot on multiple occasions. So I don't think we're going to get the specific story here. Bigfoot researcher. There's 2 of his websites. There's going to make a movie about him. Joseph Winnie, welcome. "20 takeaways from Survivor Man Bigfoot." Okay, let's try this one. At BigfootBase.com. An article written by, apparently, AJ. In the 6th season of Survivor Man, survival expert and filmmaker Les Stroud jumps headfirst into the strange world of Sasquatching. As most by now realize, there are only a handful of individuals actively involved in Bigfootery. I wouldn't say a handful. I'd say there's probably organizations in every state where it's known. Every state. I would have to, what do they say? Call BS on that? Call nonsense on that? That's an old David Steinberg joke. What's the definition of BS in the dictionary? He looked it up, and it turns out it's nonsense. So every time I never say BS. The first time I've said it, maybe in, I don't know, a decade. I always say nonsense because I always think of Steinberg's joke. T Plateau questions Bigfootery. Elder says Survivor Man was a great series. I must agree. Tina also agrees. with me on something which has passed through my brain. Thank you, Tina. Evidently my former point. Tina's happy, and that's a good thing. One Sean Bond says, up here in Canada, we're having it rough with the forest fires. Yeah, we're catching a bit of that here in New York, upstate New York. Not as bad as it was a couple years back. It was so thick. It was you couldn't go outside. I couldn't. My lungs are not that good anymore. I used to be a smoker. Tina says, I call BS on one of the few Bigfoot researchers. Right. The Finding Bigfoots and Mountain Monsters no doubt grab ratings, but Survivorman Bigfoot is the most comprehensive, practical analysis of the cryptid on location that I've seen, writes AJ. Les Stroud's firm step into the field is incredibly refreshing. While well-produced shows like X Creatures, Bigfoot Files, and Fact or Faked do a well nonpartisan job of evaluating Sasquatch, none of those programs feature the respected magnitude of the beloved Stroud. For many, including myself, writes AJ, this was a cryptoid godsend. Kind of like when your favorite team gets the best player in the league. There was a lot to digest from this important 2 special miniseries, which included a 7-episode stretch. Here are the highlights. Joseph Winnie says, more Dogman stories in Michigan. Sasquatch here in Oregon is accepted. Gotchaman says, sounds like a boutique shop. Sasquatching and Bigfootery, right next to Sephora. I'd say there were 2 separate shops. Sasquatching. Bigfootery. One's a shoe store. The other sells coats. Furry coats. John says he is smoked out in Saskatchewan, Canada. And it's crazy. Yeah, don't go outside, man. The author continues. First, I have to briefly mention Todd Standing's incredible encounter video clips of 2 stationary Sasquatch. The blinking Mexican wolfman and the doll-eyed Ewok. Oh, and here they are. So these are stills from the Todd Standing videos about which green tea is so curious. And the author calls this the Mexican Wolfman. Gotchaman says, you got some rain, I think. Nova Scotia is turning to a desert. Some rain is right. It's like once a week, and it kind of pours. That's when I collect my rainwater. Once a week if we're lucky, let me put it that way. Since these clips have already been flung across the internet. Revered, examined, celebrated, and loved. I would instead like to focus on some of the more subtle takeaways from Survivorman Bigfoot. These are fantastic encounters to chew on, but they clearly deserve their own analysis and background investigation. So I guess that's it for Standing in this article. Let's do a Todd Standing follow-up here from the show, evidently. No stranger to controversy, Todd's standing provided a swell of compelling material for Survivorman Bigfoot, especially special number 1, Nordegg. Despite his enthusiasm for evidence, Todd was a nice part of the show. I have always thought, continues AJ, that others than embellishing a few times to maintain funding and or interest, Todd really had serious encounters with Sasquatch. And he seems to have a growing collection of Bigfoot videos. Green Tea says, Standing filmed something walking up a hill. We'll check for that next. Thank you, Green Tea. Todd provides a pretty intense piece of video evidence to the show. In the dark clip, Todd can be heard screaming like a drunk homeless guy. Get out of here! Get out of here! Into the blackness. The only light comes from a bright red flare, his anti-Bigfoot insurance policy. The dude sounds incredibly freaked out, and we can even hear a deep growling that more or less caused him to dip into shock. Todd says that over 4 Bigfoot surrounded him that night in remote Alberta and were supremely ticked off. A truly incredible encounter. And the next one mentions Todd as well. Throughout the 2 specials on the first season of Survivorman Bigfoot, both Standing and Stroud invite audible contact with potential Sasquatch in the area, hiking through the remote hotspots. They attempt to communicate by way of short whooping noises, rock knocks, and wood knocks. A lot of critics in the Bigfoot community dismiss these invitational tactics, but the men were relatively successful. In the first special, for example, a distant whoop was picked up by the camera and stopped Les in his tracks. Todd confidently proclaimed that was a Bigfoot. Les took the critical thinking road and deliberately cross-referenced his internal survivor database, crossing out bear, cougar, crow, quail, and other local fauna. He arrived at 2 possible culprits, man and something else that we don't know of. Perhaps a large ape that escaped from the circus. That's my own addition. Wood knocks returned a notable result as well in episode 1, The Legend of Clem2 Hill. Les performed daily wood knocks at his beach camp. On his final early evening in the Erie Clem2 Lake Beach, on the Erie Beach, something a few hundred yards away catapulted a huge object in his direction. Wow. The air was completely still and Les immediately sensed aggression in the act. I sense aggression. Did the wood knocks invite a large predator to his camp that can throw large objects? As Les regularly reminded us, mountainside crashes and whoops in the forest may not be enough to prove the existence of Bigfoot. Les and Todd, and it's even more about Todd. I don't know if Todd participated in the whole series or not. Perhaps so. Les and Todd found an upside-down tree near a logging road in remote Alberta. Perhaps more perplexing than tree branch structures These trees are basically ripped out of the ground and shoved back and upside down with the roots in the air. I have never seen that. And I live in upstate New York, and which means I frequent the woods on a regular basis. And I've never seen that. I've seen huge trees on their side with their roots in the air, but I've never seen an upside down tree like that. On this find, Les ruled out human hoaxing due to the apparent age of the hole that likely predated the logging road. I don't know. I'm sure they've had logging roads for quite a while up there. Is that where they are? Up somewhere? Pedro Rojas Cervantes is here. Welcome, Pedro. Pedro waves to chat. Tree structures might be the real deal as well. It looks like he was part of the whole series. Les and Todd regularly investigated long tree branches in the remote woods that were cross-stacked. That I've never seen either, unless I built it myself. Pedro says, Canada is always up. Oh, it's in Canada? Thank you, Pedro. Yeah, my memory is so short. Were these tree structures built by Sasquatch? A big portion of Special 2, Radium Springs, is basically Survivor Van Bigfoot CSI. Les tirelessly tried to understand how the tree branches ended up in these positions. Did they fall naturally? Was it snowfall? I haven't seen that. But I haven't seen that at any level as a result of snowfall. Evidently, in the snowfall, apparently, for a snowfall to have caused this, the snow must have reached over his head, which could have happened in Canada, right? But even though we may only get these days a couple of feet, I've still never seen that phenomenon here in upstate New York. At the 1 or 2 feet level. He questions everything, arriving at the conclusion, always, time after time, that these structures were deliberately built. This is another instance of why would anyone do this when it comes to hoaxed Bigfoot evidence. Of course, humans can accomplish just about anything, so we must assume that they are responsible for every piece of Sasquatch evidence discussed on this show. Really? But why on earth would hoaxers arrange these heavy branches in the middle of the forest in these twisting and strange positions? Maybe they're not hoaxing. Maybe we're just misunderstanding the motivation. Perhaps they were communicating with the trees. Thank you, Green Tea. Next up, a suggestion from Gotcha Man at 54 minutes past the hour. To wit, that's legal talk. I was a legal clerk in the Army and an infantryman, and some at the same time. Welcome to Rhino Rex. Just coming in. Welcome, Rhino. And let's see if we can get it here. Paste. Yes, from Gotcha Man. Crazy or too sane? The case of Gabriela Rico Jimenez. Let's find out. I know nothing about Gabriela. Oh, there's Reddit on her. At Unresolved Mysteries. Dare we go to Reddit? Yeah, let's do it. Looks fairly. Reddit is not bad for this kind of stuff, I guess. And then you get the comments. Posted by Jeepers33 6 years ago. What happened to Gabriela Rico Jimenez? And here there's a YouTube clip of Gabriela pleading for help, which we cannot show, but we can read. This event took place in August of 2009 in Monterrey, Nuevo León, Mexico, in front of a hotel located at Ocampo Street, in between the avenue Cuauhtémoc and Pino Suarez. The news broadcast features a young woman named Gabriela Rico Jimenez screaming in front of a luxury hotel. She repeatedly pleads for her freedom, and she claims she was held against her will. She also makes claims of unaliving and cannibalism, dropping some very big names in her accusations. No wonder she was disappeared. Disappearing, by the way, coming to this country. People, that is. Being disappeared. Most public outbursts such as this can be attributed to mental illness or substance abuse. But Gabriela's claims are consistent and somewhat coherent. And she speaks with such horror and conviction. Jeepers33 writes, I feel compelled to consider her credibility. Oh, it's evidently from a news report in Spanish with English subtitles. Yes, do please come back, Telesforos. And here's a transcript in English. It doesn't say whether he stripped the subtitles or did his own translation, but it begins with the narrator. Pedro says Bernie Sanders on a tequila rampage. Tequila soup. Narrator, let's hear what this young girl was shouting in the street. Gabriela. I wanted my freedom. Monterrey freed me, but it cost me a lot of work. I was in Mexico City for a year and 4 months. All this began in the middle of 2001. I barely remember. They were young and powerful, and they unalived them. I've been knocking on doors. What I wanted was my freedom. I want my freedom. Carlos Slim knew about this. I want my freedom. It hurts my soul that they took him away. Police arrive and begin to approach Gabriela. Leave me alone. They already took me to the police station. They were told that they knew nothing. They took me to the general hospital. Gabriela points at officer. You were there. You killed Marino. name dropping as the author foreshadowed. They told me who did they kill? The Queen of England? The Queen of Germany? Did they kill the princesses and Mickey Mouse? It was also him. Gabriela points at an officer. Doesn't say if it's the same officer. But that would be an important point. They ate human flesh. Disgusting. They ate humans. I wasn't aware of anything. Of the unalivings, yes, but they ate humans. They smell like the flesh. Female officer approaches Gabriela. Neither does it say how many officers are on site. It just says police arrive. You're not going to take me until this is cleared up. You already took me there. Let me go. Female officer grabs a struggling Gabriela and takes her to an armored vehicle. Yeah, they really know how to disappear someone in Mexico. This is the sad reality of young Gabriela Rico Jimenez, who, as you saw a moment ago, this is the narrator speaking, tried to attack the police officer who managed to take her. Well, I don't know if attacking is struggling as you're being carted away. I think that's like self-defense, isn't it? Tina T has been to Monterrey, Nuevo Leon many times. Several times. Color me green. Gabriela is referred to as a model on various sites, though no official record of her existence can be found online, other than the news broadcast which mentions her by name. And this was on the news. Is that true? No official record of her existence can be found online. Well, you got to look in Yellow Pages what would it be? I'm not sure what it is for Mexico, what the domain is name is for Mexico. Let's ask AI. What is the domain name extension for Mexico? MX. So yellowpages.mx. I mean, you have to do research. A lot of these articles, a lot of times, when they say they couldn't find anything online, it's something I could have found within 5 minutes. Green Tea reminds us that the white pages with a U.S. domain extension is a United States commercial site, right? Well, we invented it, right? I think we invented the white pages. I think we invented the yellow pages as well. What happened to her? 2013 update. She was helped by the police of Monterrey, and after she was detained in jail by the regional police and sent to the psychiatric center of the Buenos Aires colony, where she will stay indefinitely, she receives help and can be well cared for. Okay, I got to find out about the reputation of this psychiatric center, given our first topic. And ask it of AI, at ChatGPT, for which I now pay. It's expensive, $20 a month. I don't like paying for it, but I absolutely need it. please characterize the reputation of the Psychiatric Center of the Buenos Aires colony? It seems you're asking about the reputation of Colonia Nacional Psiquiátrica Dr. Domingo Cabrad, commonly known as the Open Door Psychiatric Colony, founded near Buenos Aires. Here's a more detailed look. In progressive practices, pardon me. My ice cube is gone. It melts fast. And they're huge when they start out. I freeze a huge ice cube in the bottom of these in my freezer. Joseph, when he says the situation is disturbing. Glad I turned that sound back on. Progressive practices, that's a good thing. Historical innovation. Overcrowding in the 30s across Argentina's psychiatric facilities. So they sent her out of country? I did not realize until the second. Of course, Buenos Aires is in Argentina, right? Maybe it's just on the... Do they border each other or something? Initially garnered a strong positive reputation. Over time, faced capacity pressure. Overall occupies a noteworthy place in mental health history. Okay, so that's good news. At least they started out with good intentions, right? And I assume... No, I don't assume. Well, I don't know. Let's change the topic. I don't want to disparage the Mexican or other South American mental institutions. And we're still at Reddit. Gabriela mentions the name Carlos Slim. Carlos Slim Helu is a Mexican business magnate of Lebanese descent. He's the richest man in Mexico and was the richest in the world between 2010 and 2013. He has a son, Carlos, who serves as chairman of his father's company. The Moreno Gabriela claims was murdered as Juan Camilo Moreno Terrazzo, who was a Mexican politician affiliated with the National Action Party, or the PAN. Joseph Winnie informs us that Argentina considered its political adversaries as mentally ill. Thank you, Joseph. That's not good. He died in November 2008 in a Learjet crash. The government plane in which he was traveling crashed into rush hour traffic under mysterious circumstances. There were 16 fatalities, all 9 people on board and 7 people on the ground died. He was 37 years old. as President Felipe Calderon's strongman. He'd been leading a government campaign against Mexico's violent drug gangs. So good reason for that to question that plane crash. There is a testimony of an alleged witness to Gabriela's breakdown on a Spanish-language blog called The Black Manic, or Manic. A law student claims to have spoken with Gabriela and gives the following account of their interaction. Update, 6/26/2015. A witness speaks after a long time. This person told us what he experienced in the first person after approaching Gabriela with the intention of helping her. Okay, and he says, testifying, at that time, I was in the same place where the girl was taken after being detained. I was practicing in that place. I'm a law graduate. I still remember her face full of despair. She was very weary of the environment and had a strange feeling. I approached her and asked some questions. She told me we were all dead. That we were among them, among other things rare. That left me paralyzed. After 20 minutes of being with her, some tall, well-dressed people arrived. They practically pulled me out. I asked me why. If it was just a poor girl with a mental disorder. Asking where they were taking her, they told me it wasn't my business, and for me to go away. Before they left, they asked me what she told me. I answered them that she was insane, and I ran away. The next day, I went to the senior offices of the ministry and told them about the issue and wanted information because the girl's family requested it. They just laughed. And they said, quote, if she does not exist, she never existed, and you don't work here. I got a shiver and left. I left Monterey. I had a feeling that what happened those days and what the girl said was true. I left everything and got out of there. She told me in Monterey there's a kind of underground base where they live and regularly steal the children. Meant for not only food, but other things. By my profession, I dare not reveal my encounter. Him being was he a law student or something? I forget. That could have been the previous guy. I have family and children who depend on me. And I can't disparage my reputation. The reason I'm so haltingly reading this is because it's not very well translated from the Spanish. Looks like it was done with Google Translate. I would like to go out and announce this to the four winds, but society would call me crazy. Although I have marks of the attack. I guess he was attacked at some point. And continue to suffer a bad back from the attack. There are nights I just cannot sleep. I have the same feeling when I saw them the first time or her the first time. saw them the first time. That they do not judge me as crazy for telling them that only I and those who were with me at the time know what happened. Those are monsters. The one who attacked me was a monster. If he found me, if he found me, I would have unalived him. Because I have a drawing of him. Okay, let's, at 15 minutes past the hour, go to the next topic. Courtesy of T Plateau. Thank you, One Bond. And that topic is, we're going to make that 16 past the hour. Time flies. And that topic is from T Plateau. What happened to the crew of the MV Joyita? Interesting. Let's find out. How about from anomalien.com? I'm getting lucky with these websites today. Here at anomalien.com, and there's how it's spelled. Like anomaly and alien. Smashed together. There's a story written by Jake Carter entitled, how do I get out of this? Continue? Please enter. Oh, there's the X. MV Joyita Mystery. What happened to the passengers and crew? Looks like about the size of the SS Minnow. Thank you, Tina. In the early morning hours of October 3rd, 1955, a merchant vessel named the MV Joyita set sail from Apia, which is the capital of Samoa. The boat was taking 25 passengers, 16 of them crew. So, technically 9 passengers. The people in the chat are quoting lines from the Gilligan's Island theme song, starting from the beginning. Just sit right back. It was also taking 4 tons of various cargo on a 2-day, 270-mile trip across the South Pacific to the Tokelau Islands. The vessel had problems from the start. It was supposed to have left port the previous day, but was delayed due to the port engine clutch failing. When finally she did leave, it was with only 1 engine. Not a good idea. On October the 6th, the port that was supposed to have received the Joyita reported that the ship had not yet arrived. Since no distress signal was received, authorities assumed the worst, launching a massive search for the vessel and her passengers. I guess the crew are passengers as well. Primarily aided by the Royal New Zealand Air Force. And they know what they're doing. But by October the 12th, no signs of the boat or her crew had been sighted. 5 weeks later, in November, a merchant ship spotted the Joyita near Fiji. She was almost 600 miles off course. waterlogged, and missing nearly all of her cargo. Did they say what her cargo was? Various cargo, 4 tons of it. So maybe they were pitching it overboard just to stay afloat, perhaps? Nearly all of her cargo gone. There was obviously no one on board, but the ship's emergency radio was turned to the International Distress Channel, meaning the captain had actively been trying to get help. All 3 of the boat's life rafts and the dinghy were also gone. From the outside, it was clear that something had gone very wrong. For starters, many of the boat's windows were smashed, and a makeshift cover had been put up over the deck house. I'm not sure about boat parts. Which part is the deck house? Let's see a picture. Deck house. Take out that extra C. By boat deck house. Ooh, that's a nice deck house. I guess it's the covered thing that that rises up out of the boat. That's a deck house. That's a deck house. This is a really nice deck house. Well, that's a nice deck house. This thing's gorgeous. Oh yeah, I'd like to live there. I have a fairly large yard, I guess. I have 2 sheds on it, and I have enough room to haul the boat in. It's my dream to have a boat like this just sitting on my property and, climb aboard for relaxation. Rhino Rex says, I always thought a boathouse would be awesome. I know, right? T Plateau says, yep, I can live there. Tina Tomaszewski says, very nice boat. But Tina wants a pontoon boat. That would be nice as well, because first of all, they're cheap, right? Easy to maintain. Pontoon boat would be excellent. Where is that story? Is that right here? Here? Here. Continue. Yes. So it's right after the duck. Got it. Tina says, no, they are not cheap, which is why I don't have one. Really? Wow, I always thought that they were. Huh. They're almost ready to finish that song online, on chat. One more line left, people. And T Plateau accomplishes that goal. There was also a large hole in the ship's superstructure. Well, there you go. Which, in addition to being adrift at sea for so long, had caused the lower deck to become completely flooded. But although the ship was found damaged and tilting to one side, the hull was completely fine, meaning the ship was seaworthy. Most of the flooding was due to the ship being adrift and bobbing in the ocean for so long. The ship's odd angle was the result of the water that had come on board over the last few weeks. This makes the fact that the lifeboats and dinghy were deployed not only strange, but completely irrational on the part of the ship's passengers and crew. Maybe the captain was lost early on. What's even more perplexing is that none of the 4 auxiliary crafts were ever spotted. Inside the vessel, however, is where things really started to get strange. Ship's logbook and all navigational equipment were missing. The medical bag of one of the passengers, who was a doctor, was found with nearly all of the equipment removed, and instead filled with bloody rags. Oh, that's so weird. So I'm thinking pirates at this point. Yeah, pirates, right? Pirates got to take that logbook. And who else would fill a doctor's bag with bloody rags? The starboard engine was inexplicably covered with mattresses, which was possibly the worst attempt ever to plug a leak. The crew had also apparently tried to rig together a pump to offset the flooding in the engine room. So, well, no, maybe it wasn't pirates then. Because then they wouldn't be working on the ship. They'd be out of there, right? The crew apparently tried to rig together a pump to offset the flooding in the engine room. It failed. But that shows they were trying to keep the ship from becoming stranded. There's a conversation here I wanted to check out on chat. Oh, no, I don't like when I move that stuff online. Oh, that's better. It's not moving up. There we go. Has anyone else seen the reels of boats getting ready to go through pirate areas? No, I haven't seen that, Rhino Rex. That sounds interesting, though. But even with the engine room being turned into a swimming pool, the Joyita was still able to stay afloat. The fact that the ship's cork-lined hull and remaining cargo of empty fuel drums would keep her afloat should have been common knowledge to the crew. Taking aside the bizarre behavior and the bloody rags, what would possess 25 people to leave the safety of a seaworthy vessel, stocked with supplies, to go out into the Pacific Ocean on small life rafts? Maybe it was during a storm? It was discovered during the recovery that the ship's emergency radio had faulty wiring, and while still functional, had only a very short range of 2 miles. Great. This would explain why a distress call was never received. Gotcha Man says, I like the theory that Gilligan was actually an evil genius that sabotaged every attempt to leave the island because he had access to 2 hot babes and an easy life. It's also worth noting that all the ship's clocks were stopped at 10:25. While that makes for a fun jumping-off point for wild paranormal speculation, It actually just means the ship's generator cut off during that time in the night. It's dark. They don't know if the ship's going to continue to sink. It's stormy. But that still doesn't explain what happened to the passengers and cargo. One theory is the captain, Thomas Dusty Miller, got into a fight with his first mate, Chuck Simpson. The two beat up each other so badly, hence the bloody bandages, that they were incapacitated. What, a mutual knockout? This would have left the ship without an experienced seaman, and also apparently would have dropped the IQ of everyone on board by 30 points. So there was only two people who really would know the score, that they should have stayed on the ship. And that would be the captain and Chuck Simpson, his first mate. Another theory is that Joyita was attacked by Japanese fishermen. Good evening, Drew. Good evening, Drewfologist. Forgot how to say your name for a second. Good evening, Drew. Or still active Japanese Schmatzi forces. Because it was on when? 55? And they think there's still Japanese fascists on some islands who don't know the war's over? Was it 55? When was it? 55. So they would have had to have been marooned, these Japanese soldiers, for 10 years on an island somewhere in the Pacific. Just like Gilligan's Island. The Japanese version. This line of reasoning seems to be fueled more by post-World War II sentiment in the Pacific towards Japan, rather than any sort of solid evidence. Other theories about mutiny and possible insurance fraud have continued to pop up over the years. But none of them can account for the fact that no trace of the ship's passengers or crew were ever found. It's very possible that the ship's cargo could have been scavenged before the Joyita was officially located in November. But even if the crew had all been unalived by pirates, there should have been at least some type of wreckage discovered from the ship's 4 auxiliary craft. And you would think they would tend to drift in the same direction as well, right? One would think. After being repaired and dropped off, after being repaired and auctioned off, and then dropped off to a new owner in 1956, the ship proceeded to run aground twice more during the next 3 years. A mechanical malfunction due to improperly installed valves would be the third and final straw. The Joyita's reputation as an unlucky ship and/or a potential death trap had made her unwanted and unloved. She was scrapped for parts and eventually purchased by British author Robert Maugham, who used the ship for inspiration while writing the Joyita Mystery in 1962. This written by Paul Middleton. The source: Ghosts, the Paranormal, Myths, and Legends. Sources and references. Newsletter: The Strange Mystery of the Crew of the Sarah Joe. The Zabrina Ghost Ship Mystery. How can those be sources or references? None of those were mentioned. Welcome, Ryu 1972. Ryu has arrived. And it's 35 past the hour, and we're moving on to our final suggestion of the day from Mystery Flavor. That is 35 after the hour. And I must adjust a piece of studio equipment. Please accept my apologies. Thank you, people. T Plateau says, Gilligan trying to drive the sub. So hilarious. Yeah, I often watched Gilligan's Island growing up. Who didn't, right? I mean, you're not normal if you don't love Gilligan's Island, right? Let's make that 36 past the hour. And that was the Joyita. Coming up, though, from Mystery Flavor, a new topic. And that is the Forgotten Languages website. Ryu loved Gilligan's Island. T Plateau says it's sad there was only 3 seasons. They're immortal now, right? They're immortal. Forgotten Languages website. Let's find out about this thing. ForgottenLanguages.org, another linguistic rabbit hole. Forgotten Languages full. Internet mystery. Forgotten Languages at denyignorance.com. Let's try that. The Forgotten Languages website. And it's posted by Manny Ferox. Hi, everyone. I'm new here. What do aliens, linguistics, dreams, and Michael Schellenberger's document submitted to Congress all have in common? Welcome to the enigma of Forgotten Languages, an internet mystery about a secret society that as of yet remains unsolved. Below, I have compiled answers to some of the most frequently asked questions about forgotten languages. I am one member of a research group. I've given the temporary and very creative name, the Forgotten Language Research Group, or the FLRG. This is a very brief introduction to a very complex and multifaceted internet rabbit hole, so buckle up. Image here, which I guess no longer exists, or has moved. Forgotten Languages, or FL, is an online blog running since 2008, delving into a myriad of subjects, including linguistics, AI, cryptography, esoteric knowledge, and of course, conspiracies. The website features articles written in various constructed languages. The blog's spokesperson goes by the pseudonym Eindrill. However, several authors contribute to the site. The purpose of the website, according to the curator, is the sharing of knowledge between other members of their organization. The information you see on the website has been translated into one of the languages that the organization themselves has created. Calling the language cryptolex, or languages that have undergone relexification, is probably more accurate than calling them a language, however. There are well over 40 unique languages in use there. Before we go on, I gotta see this page if it still exists. Why do they not have a link? Is there like a source link at the bottom? Oh, resources. There it is. Forgotten languages. They also have a YouTube channel. Related links. Translation guide. Discord server. I don't know if it's theirs or Forgotten Languages Discord. Let's open the website. And let's open the translation guide. Okay. FL for Forgotten Languages. Website is here. I like their banner. I gotta take a close look at this. This is spooky, and this is a true artist that created this. Elder says it looks like the episodes may be on YouTube. Oh, they're talking about Gilligan's Island maybe still. Or GI related. A monk and a female pastor. An alien in a monk's habit holding a stick, a pointy stick. James Anderson from California in the city of Taft had just arrived. Welcome. Welcome, James. Here are a group of, it looks almost like a farm, 2 buildings and a silo, and then another building. What it looks like. What in the heck is that? What is that? P. Plateau says that her daughter speaks Coptic. I think Coptic is an Egyptian language, but not with the hieroglyphs, with letters, Coptic letters. P. Plateau says people at her workplace laughed at her for it. Are you kidding? I'd love to know Coptic. But a Coptic priest walked in asking for insurance. She's an insurance underwriter. And she spoke perfect Coptic to him. And he referred to his parishioners, and he referred his parishioners to her. Made her business heaps of money that month. I hope she got a well-deserved raise and or promotion. Or and promotion, which is what she deserved. Elder says it looks like a castle to him. I got to find out what this picture is right here. This thing right here. Whoops. I shouldn't have gone back down. I got to find out what this item is here. So we're going to have to save this. Save image as. I have to save this in the show folder. Here. I'm going to have to go to the show folder. Find that image. It's here. That's not it. That was my candidate. That was one of my candidates for the thumbnail. Where is it? Should be long and thin. Why is it not here? Oh, because I'm in the thumb. That's why. Where is it? Here it is. Okay, we're going to just go like this. I'm going to ask AI what this is. Rotate 180. We're going to save this as Exhibit A. Rotate 180 back. File. Save as. And I got to go to that place again. And we're going to save this as Alpha. There's another unusual object here. So we're going to open that again. What's that guy holding in his hand? It looks like it might be a glove. Let's go here. Rotate 180. What object is this guy holding in his hand? Rotate back. Let's see what it is. Whoops. Looks like a glove to me, but padlocks maybe? Looks like padlock. At least two of them. Or a glove. Save this as Bravo. Let's ask AI. Where's AI? There it is. Please identify the objects, one of which is being held in a human hand in the two attached pictures. Not and, in. And attach. Add photos. Top one. These two. Not these three. These two. And there they are. And ask. Joseph Winnie says, ask GPT, what could go wrong? First image appears to be a tambourine or frame drum. No, it's not a tambourine. Second image shows a human head holding a pair of eyeglasses or spectacles. No, it doesn't. Does it? No way. No way that's spectacle. And no way that's a tambourine. No way that's spectacles. There's nothing round there. Looks like either padlocks or a glove. And the first one, tambourine. That ain't no tambourine. That's some kind of device. It looks like a sundial, but... So therefore, we must respond. Wrong on both counts. Yes again. Thinking longer for a better answer. Inspecting images. Big Test is here. Welcome, Big Test, my friend. Analyzing, inspecting image files using Python. Analyzing shield-like object. Identifying the object. Elder says it looks wooden. Pedro says it looks like gloves. The gauntlet would be thrown down. The opponent would pick them up as an acceptance of the duel. And then they would meet. Good point, Pedro. Reevaluating the object's nature. They just upgraded 2 days ago, I believe, my service from ChatGPT 4 to ChatGPT 5. And it's supposed to be the end-all of end-alls. Elders suggest trying a Google reverse image search. Yeah, let's do that while this thing's working. Google. And where's that? How do you do that? Supposed to be at the top, right? More. Search. Here. Search by image. Upload a file. Let's try this one first. None of these have 3 parts. There's not any of these. The grain measure. Right there. None of them have 3 parts. Absolutely none of them. This one seems like it might. Vintage oval framed picture. No. That's just some paper over other old paper. None have the requisite number of parts. Oh, so much for that one. Try the other one. Upload. That's going to be even less. Nothing holding anything. Someone holding a hanky. Another hanky. Holding part of a book. Holding gloves. Okay, AI. Where are you again? Here. Oh, there it is. Okay, second guess. An oval shield with a diagonal shoulder strap. A hand holding a pair of scissors or shears. There's nothing round in the picture. I don't think it's going to... He thought for a minute and a half, supposedly. Let's not pursue it here because I don't think AI knows what this is. So are we here? Yeah. So we'll never know. What is that thing right there? That's not part of his dress. It's something draped with a cloth in very low resolution. Yeah, it's some kind of mathematical instrument. And it only has 2 handles, apparently. Huh. Elder says 1.5 minutes for AI should be like 6 hours for a human. Yeah, it should be. And we have a link from Rhino Rex. Green Tea would like a post to the original image. Okay, let me do that. That is right here. Here is that link, Green Tea. Here first featured The Secret Life of the Shadow Fleet, the testing of advanced AUVs. AUVs. Something vehicle? You're most welcome, Green Tea. Chris Cease has arrived. Chris believes it is a cartography tool, perhaps a compass to create maps and depict them evenly. Good thinking, Chris. Elder informs us automated unmanned vehicles. Secret life of the Shadow Fleet, the testing of advanced automated unmanned vehicles. And it's written in that interesting language. Let's see if Google Translate can translate it. I'm pretty sure I have translators somewhere. That's the search. Where is their translate? It's here somewhere. There it is. It's Kurdish is detected. The four-legged leaky is a small, slender man, a man of great strength. The young man is a man of great strength. And then the rest it cannot handle, evidently. Interesting translation by Google Translate. But it's related to the Kurdish language, evidently. So they took Kurdish and changed it up. Pedro's first impression was a type of navigational sextant. Contributors. And these names: Alainin, Zineb, Alids, Ashina, Aidnaid, Nida, Nides, Shulin, Sadril, Yael, Yawalin, and Rita. And not the regular Rita, a Rita that begins with a Y and has 2 D's in it. Oh, we're at the end. Thank you for reminding me, Tina. Thank you, Tina, so much. Okay, guys, I'm going to call it. I'm sorry, Tina, I should have been looking at the clock closer. Don't forget to check out Banned by YouTube, the video that drops on Wednesday. That's right there. Until next Saturday, may God bless and protect you all.